El nivel de producción de Apple TV Plus sigue siendo muy bueno. En 2022 nos regalaron una serie llamada Blackbird que tuvo como protagonista a Paul Walter Hauser, a Taron Egerton y que fue una de las últimas producciones que grabó el difunto Rey Liotta. Hablamos con la directora de fotografía sobre cómo fue encarar todos los aspectos técnicos de esta producción referidos, por ejemplo, a esa sensación que da de claustrofobia a la cárcel, pero también de intimidad que tienen por momentos estos dos presos, y también, por supuesto, recordamos la imagen, la figura de Rey Liotta en ese set. Todo esto en el informe de Blackbird.
We now return to Mira Akien and Contré with our latest interview.
Dennis's main thing that he wanted to get across was to portray visually the tension and the uncomfortable, awkward nature of this relationship that we're sort of deep diving in Blackbird, the relationship of Jimmy Keene and Larry Hall.
You want me to check into hell and befriend the demon? Not for all the money in the world.
How about freedom?
I translated that into, using lots of contrast, also like playing with stillness of the camera, to not be distracting, but also to just kind of sit in those really tense moments and not being able to escape, just as the prisoners, weren't able to escape. So we're in these really small confined spaces, really sort of just immersed within these conversations. And I think that the tension just gradually builds up, as these different scenes go on. And so that's kind of broad strokes, how we approached it.
If you think you could be in danger, you are in danger.
I think what really, really helped with that authenticity of creating claustrophobia was that we shot in a real prison. So, that it's not like we were on a stage where we could really remove any walls or anything like that. We had one small like camera portal that we were able on one wall of each of the prisoner cells. So we were able just to remove that portal to get camera in for just one additional angle. But other than that, we were confined to, the real spaces within that prison, the cells and the main cell block we were in, the hallways, everything. So it was about, using a camera small enough, shooting on large format, and just getting physically close to the characters, to convey that feeling, physically close to the camera.
Dad, tell me there's a way out of this. Not a quick one.
How was getting to work every day and going to prison?
Yeah. Well, luckily it had been shut down for many years now. I think maybe like 15 or 20. So it's not operational, at least. So that was good. But yeah, still the vibe, we're still in a prison. The writings are literally on the walls, and we were there for a long time, like maybe, the last, 2 or 3 months of the shoot. We saved most of our prison work, and a lot of the heavy prison work comes at the second half of the series anyway. So yeah, mostly that last half of the shoot was in there. And yeah, at times I think it did take a toll on you, especially like shooting inside the cells, and we would feel claustrophobic. and just, just the color and I used a lot of the existing fluorescent lighting. Of course, like, I changed up bulbs and shaped it as needed. But, but that very little daylight, each cell just had a small strip of a window. So it wasn't a lot of like natural daylight coming in. So after spending, 12 hours a day on that, it just, it sort of messes with your psyche. So you kind of have to, like, after wrap, just kind of peel that off for you, take a nice long bath and reset for the next day and like kind of leave that at work,
How did you help, like, to build that intimacy in a place like prison?
I think it's just being, honest with camera and lighting, and I never wanted to ever do anything on my end to make anything feel false or contrived, or, you know, to show my hand too much. You know, of course, you know, it's, you know, I was aiming to keep a certain level of contrast and shape with the lighting, and of course it needed to look good, but there, I think there's just such a fine line in realism and sort of like enhanced realism. So that means just like really being attuned and present in each scene and understanding what each scene needs. You know, do we need to move the camera out here or over here, or will that be distracting? You know, or will camera movement really enhance the emotions in this particular scene? So it's really just kind of, you know, just a gut feeling a lot of the times, but just knowing when to pull back and knowing when to kind of give. And, you know, I never wanted the prison to look like, you know, a really just false version, you know, like I didn't want it to feel contrived. You know, it needed to feel gritty and grounded in reality and ugly, and kind of a beautiful ugly in a way, you know. So it was never trying to achieve that like movie version, you know, of what prison is, because I just felt like the viewers just wouldn't believe that we were there, you know. And we're already shooting in a real prison, so it's a lot of my decisions were leaning into what was already there.
Larry has vivid dreams.
Tell me about him.
In my dreams, I kill women.
I heard in an interview just a few minutes ago that he isn't method at all. Like he's
No, not at all.
So how was seeing he transform into this character?
I mean, he could like turn it on in a heartbeat and turn it off, you know, like and that's where he and Taryn are pretty different, you know. But yeah, Paul, in between takes, he would crack jokes.
Yeah.
And then he would go back into this. And I think that probably, you know, I know he said before that sort of just kind of helped balance, you know, that character, like just for himself, just having to be in those like very dark places for such a long time. You know, that levity really, I know, helped him. But I think, you know, that's his personality and his method,
Yeah.
And that's what works, and it's great. And yeah, and Taryn's more, I guess, on the method side. Not that he was like, you know, 200% all in, you couldn't talk to him, but he leaned more towards in a staying in character for the most part.
I never wanted this for you. I wanted a totally different life.
The last question is related to Ray Liotta. It was his last, I think, one of the last work he did. Like, what can you tell me about working with him?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the first things, I mean, at first he was like very intimidating, but I was just like, oh my God, I get to, you know, photograph a legend like this. This is amazing. So he has like kind of an intimidating, you know, big personality, but he's such just a beautiful person. He was a beautiful person inside. And one thing that I noticed is like just his love for filmmaking, you know, and just all of it. And he would never really go back to his trailer while we were lighting. He would just stay on set and just sort of like be immersed in the process. And I could just, you know, just see him looking around, observing. He would ask questions of why I'm doing a certain thing, just because he's genuinely interested, you know, and just, you could just tell that he just loves filmmaking and loves the process of just making something. And I thought that was really cool to just have him there while we were working too. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though he's been doing this for like, who knows how many.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it really struck me.